We're live now, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome back to PSGL F9, everyone. I am returning back as commentator, but I will not be leading today all the season throughout. It's season 32, however, and we're starting in Spain, a track that made its debut in 1996, which has gone through a recent layout change in turn 10, as you can see there on screen, with a long swooping left-hand corner instead of a hard braking zone. It's like the MotoGP layout. We've still got the chicane, however, though, which many F1 fans have decided to, take criticism to that. But here we are. Anyway, I'm joined today by the lead commentator for this season, Carter.
Hello, hello. How are we all? It's lovely to be back in a different league, but nevertheless, hello. Yeah, new season. We're the first ones to broadcast as well of everybody, and we don't have an F11 anymore, so I think we're the only ones today. So, welcome. I hope we're all doing brilliantly. I'm trying to figure out. I've been told to set the chat to subscriber only. God knows how you do that. I'm just going to leave it for a minute because, yeah, who knows. Either way, nevertheless, we're here exactly the same as we always have. It is 18 minutes of qualifying. I've just realised my audio is very loud. I need to turn that down. Otherwise, you cannot hear us. Right, so, same as always, 18 minutes of qualifying for a 50% race. Pretty much the same with every other league that you'd ever have come across. And, I've got a feeling this season's going to go well. I do think we are going to have a great time this season. And it's nice as well. I'm not alone. I was alone last season, and it was incredibly difficult to fill the space sometimes.
Yeah, like being alone is a very hard job to do, so respect to you there, Carter. But last season, we saw Alias Yossi's teammate, Alias Rastas, or Trust Rastas, what he was called, towards the end of the season, winning the championship on the countback over BB8, who theoretically we believe the way he lost the championship was in Mexico because he got a penalty on the last lap, which would have seen him win the race and gone to be champion by 2 points. But unfortunately, he did end up losing the Grand Prix to the Rastas at that time. That was one hell of an ending. But we're here this season. New grid, some familiar faces for both me and Carter from F11 and F9 respectively. So it will be a very interesting grid to see what the times will be like and how close the grid will be this season.
Yeah, so first out on track is pretty much the man that runs everything. Bowen has decided that he's going to get himself out on track nice and early on. Coming around into the last sector now, so times will be going soon. Tarver, I don't know. I was really expecting, after Tarver pretty much blitzed F11 last season, I was expecting Tarver to be in here, especially considering who came second. Nicola Steinman is with Ferrari. I was expecting Tarver to be here, but he's not. So I'm not actually sure where he's gone. He might be in F10. He might have even moved to, it's Monday. And then he might be in one of those leagues. But yeah, I'm genuinely have no clue.
It depends though, because obviously F9 is the highest assist tier in PlayStation now. And there are 14 tiers, I thought 15 or 14 tiers, which back in my time, back in like F1 2019, F1 2018, 2020, there was only 5-6 tiers. And to see the popularity growth from PSGL, being here a long time since F1 2016, it's been fantastic, and to see we're getting all the esports guys involved now. We're quite a mainstream league, and it's really.
Yeah, I know we are massive. I can't lie, we are massive. Nevertheless, our first man coming down the back straight now. You will see him set purple times, but that is probably because he hasn't got anybody to compete with. Other than that, we have got most cars out on the track and now on flyers. I'm pretty certain, with only a couple on out laps and a few more in pits. Also, just noted, we have now set subscriber only chats for across all PSGL, so if you do want to talk to us, subscribe. You only have to be subscribed for a minute as well, so it's not the end of the world. Either way, Boeing sets our very first time on the board, which then gets immediately blitzed by Verstappen era, which is a great name. And then Tam, we're dropping into the 116s already. I think we're on for a pretty quick qualifying here.
Yeah, back in the day, Tam was, well, I say back in the day. Last season he was quite quick qualifying pace, but you seemed to drop way in the race. This season didn't go too well. Really, just didn't seem to have the pace in the races. He was more of a one-lap kind of guy, which you don't really want to be renowned as in a 50% league race. But yeah, it's Nicholas Simon has left the session.
Unfortunate for him. Not the best way to start, with a nice little lag problem. But I mean, yeah, most of the drivers were saying sort of the best times they were sort of setting was sort of mid-16s on time trial, and we're already into the 16s after not even our first wave of qualifying. So I think we might be on for possibly even low 16s here if we really want to up the pace a bit, which will be mega.
Yeah, obviously Spain, this track's had a lot of changes from time to time, from the last game to this game, because they're now laser scan tracks, because obviously EA have taken over Codemasters and produced the game now, I believe, or something like that. So they are now laser scan tracks, so sausage curbs are in places where they would never usually be, like that little chicane, 8-9 chicane, you know, so that will cause some carnage potentially, and the sausage curbs here are actually high, and on that outside, on the outside there, so you're coming across the line to sector 1, 17.6. He was purple sector 1, so I don't know what actually happened there towards the drop off. I believe his sector 2 wasn't the greatest, but
nevertheless, still it's P2. He could be worse, you know. It's still a decent time to get yourself back on. Nicholas Steinman there joining once again, so that means that, yeah, that probably was just a network connection problem. Other than that, nearly half the grid. Also noted a full grid. We love to see it. I mean, you kind of expect it for the very first race of the season. Everybody wants to join in, but nevertheless, we love a full grid. It's just nice. It's slick.
We do, and obviously there's a week break after this Grand Prix as well, I believe. So
is there? We got a week break straight away.
Yeah, because Brazil, isn't it? It's the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Oh yes, it's much later on, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and also this is the Christmas season, people like to call it. They're back to 3 seasons for this season as well. Ollie was coming across the line here saying set 17.261, 3 fouls off fashion gold in P3. But fugitive gold, sorry, I remember that fugitive gold. But obviously back to 3 seasons, like back in the day where we were doing 3 seasons in F1 2019 and 2018. But this will be known as the Christmas season, as it transpires over the course of Christmas. I believe we have 2 week breaks, 2 1-week breaks, of course this season, 1 for Christmas and 1 for the Brazilian Grand Prix, which is next weekend. So I think we're taking a break and then we're going to Australia, I think it is, which is a new layout as well.
So something straight away, people, the new tyre allocation feature has been implemented, ready for the start of this season, which means that drivers can choose between a softer set of tyres, a balanced set of tyres and a harder set of tyres for your weekend. So you can decide to go a bit softer and have maybe an extra run in qualifying and have a pair of softs safe for the race, but then you don't have maybe an extra set of mediums, or you lose out on a pair of hards to a mediums. But if you have balanced, and then so drivers have been working that around, and one driver has already made the problem that he's only got 2 soft tyres for qualifying. So you can see all of a sudden that's a whole nother layer of strategy that's come into the game for this season. It's going to be good to watch and see what people choose for their tyre allocations, and see how much safety cars want to ruin people's lives.
Yeah, you know, to be honest, like with the new tyre allocation and stuff like that, it's gone back to like how it was, where you have to think about it now.
Yeah, you've got to put some thought in.
Yeah, dependent on the track as well as the tyre wear. This is quite a high tyre wear circuit. It's quite an abrasive surface, I believe, the track surface actually. So the tyre wear is quite high. So maybe you want to go a bit harder. Maybe you want to keep it balanced. I think most people will keep it balanced, as So I don't think they really want to put in much thought on tyres on a Sunday evening. You know, the week's over, it's been a long week, you know, they just want to get on with stuff. But some people will actually think about it, you know, trying to maximise the best strategy and see where it can take them.
Yes, here we go. We got Suarez coming around to finish his lap now. Just the one driver, I'm pretty sure. I think there's not many other drivers out on fast laps at the moment, but he's about to come round. He's P16 at the moment. He's going to jump to P7. That's a pretty solid time. 4 tenths off the pace, but I think nevertheless to be in the middle at Spain isn't too bad for all tracks, because you've got a great opportunity down here at turn 1, and then if that doesn't go quite very well, you've got this long right-hander at turn 3 where you can just get moves done, swooping around the outsides and then maybe cutting into the inside where these two cars are here. This is also quite a good overtaking opportunity.
It's hard to get it though, because this is the corner here that you really want to overtake. It's not just crash corner in other categories because of the downhill, but because it's downhill you can break it a little bit later, send it into turn 5. But you know, I'd say turn 4 is a bit of a hard overtaking opportunity because it's a long right-hander, sort of swooping right-hander, and it seems to never end. But here used to be quite good. This corner here used to be quite a good overtaking opportunity because it's quite tight into the left-hander. But obviously now they've opened it up a little bit. You can still send it down the inside a little bit, force your opponent wide, but you know, there's very limited overtaking opportunities on this track, and that's why many people want this chicane to be gone, so that you take quicker speed into the final corner and the back straight, so it can open a little bit more overtaking opportunities down the back straight.
Yeah, because at the moment you've got that big problem of this chicane slows you down so badly that you get onto the straight, and by the time you reach the end of the straight you haven't caught up enough to get a move done, which is why obviously people want to return back to how it was. And I'm pretty sure MotoGP still use the final outside corner. It still exists. It's not like they got rid of it. It's just Formula 1 decided not to use it, which I mean, I don't think, and I probably speak for most of Formula 1 in saying that's probably not the right decision. But nevertheless,
can we just talk about how close the grid is, by the way?
It is, it's amazing.
17th down to first is 7 tenths.
It is ridiculous.
Oh, we've got our first crash of the season. It's XA Tom who's spun at turn 9.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
He's lost his front wing, but you know, we can move. The whole grid is separated in a second.
That is ridiculous. That shows that, I mean, the competitivity of these leagues is unmatched with anything I've really ever seen before. We're in F9 here. We are still assists allowed, and yet top to bottom is 1.3 seconds. Is quite mental, and even more so, excluding first and second, top to bottom's only 8 tenths. Because and Zatam has managed to knock up a time nice and close, and Real Pordy getting himself up there as well. Ferrari's on top is nice to see. Nicholas Steinman not having the best of starts either, a whole second off the pace, which is usually not a whole lot, but here it's putting you P17.
Yeah, and it's just the coordinator's done a really good job with. I said the coordinator. The co-directors, the directors have done a really good job. Kryptonite, who's done the PST as the head of the whole league, which is a very hard job. So respect to him, Big C, and a couple other directors as well, who have done very well with the placing of the tiers. Actually, I will give them that. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, if there's any issues, they will deal with them. But most of the time, they do get the division spot on. Sometimes they do get it a little bit wrong, but they do move them up very quickly. So yeah, you can't really complain, to be honest. I think, especially with how close this grid will be. Obviously, Spain is a very short circuit in itself anyway, so there's not much time to gain or lose really. So if you go to like the bigger tracks, like Australia would be a good example there, where you've got a lot of time to lose and gain. You know, there's a lot of shorter track as well. There's still areas where you can lose the time.
Yeah, Australia especially, some of the corners, unless you absolutely nail them, they go horrifically wrong, and you lose like 2-3 tenths in them, and all of a sudden, you know, you're another 6-7 places down the grid. So Australia is going to be one that these drivers are going to absolutely have to nail to get anything. Oh yeah, we got Monaco this season, haven't we?
We have.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. I'm so looking forward to that.
If you've got a 20-car grid, you got to think about traffic, you got to think about all these different factors, so that'll be another one to see how close the grid will really be. Obviously, this is still a good indication of how close the grid is. Obviously, Yossi's 30 times cleared everyone, but it's still within a second if you look. So if you go back from Tam to BR4, who was in F9 last season, that is, what, 7 tenths? Maybe a little bit less?
Yeah. It is, it really is mental just how close these drivers are. And they're only getting closer, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can improve by a tenth, and you can go from, let's say, Suarez, you improve by a tenth. You go up by 3-4 positions. Like.
Oh yeah, you move up to P10, don't you? From P13. It's mental just how much of an sort of improvement you get. Speaking of, he's about to start a flying lap, so keep an eye on him as he runs round the grid. Bottom right-hand corner. He's a dark blue for the Alpha Tauri. As who's that just exiting the pit? It's a Red Bull of sorts. I'm guessing it's Tom. Yeah, it is. Tom needs to get a time on the board. Still hasn't done so yet. I mean, who was it? He crashed out, didn't he? Well, lost his front wing. And that's what's caused him to have to wait a minute. But he's back out again and on a flyer, so we'll keep an eye on him as he goes round. Other than that, most people in the pit lane at the moment getting ready to do their final runs, because we've managed to run this out quite nicely. We've got 2.5 minutes to go of the 18. By the looks of it, traffic is going to be a problem because everybody is leaving it to the last seconds.
Yeah, but you know, as Suarez, I believe, might be purple. I don't know if that's a glitch in the game, but Verstappen's era has gone down. He's gone to second. I believe it's that 2 times it's signified Verstappen's title. So
yes, I believe so. That's going to start getting costly at one point because he's going to have to keep paying for a new PSN at this rate.
Anyway, across the line, Suarez goes P8. He improves by a tenth and he goes up by 5 positions.
That is just as mental, isn't it? Let's see, what can Tom do as he comes across the line? He stays 20th. 1.1 seconds off the pace.
Recharge that low. So
yeah, maybe.
So he's going for it though. Oh, and there's a spin for Tom. Probably just getting used to the game again. Most people have had a break from the game, but it's fair enough because the game isn't the best.
It is. It's difficult to keep in it. Speaking of, everybody's out on track at the moment. We're about to have one of the most challenging times talking over all of these because we're going to have we're going to have 20 position changes within the sort of a minute of each other. If you look on the map, no one's down that main straight at the moment.
Who's actually on the lap first? Is it Tam?
I believe so.
Maybe? He's 2100s up at the moment. Let's see what we can do in sector 2 here, Carter, if you want to take it through to the last sector.
No problem. So the long left-hander that has just been introduced before running up the hill. This corner you have got to be particularly careful on because it just keeps going on and you don't quite want to get on the power too early. Otherwise, into the gravel trap you go, into the most horrible of chicanes ever that kills all momentum. But nevertheless, he's got a pretty decent exit on that and rounding the final corner. That's flat. Suarez has had to retire from the session. Big slipstream down the main straight. It is not an improvement. He was 800ths of a second slower, nearly 900. So unfortunate for him. But that is, I'm pretty certain, his run over. I can't see him going for another lap now. P1 at the moment, provisional foul. Yossi is just starting his lap, so he's going to be one of the last to finish, I'm pretty certain. Here you go. You've got an Aston Martin coming across. I'm guessing that's RC. Oh, it's 2 tenths up at the moment. This could be a big improvement for him. He could go up into quite happily into the top 10 if he keeps up this pace. It's to cross the line. It's P4. Great little time for him.
Real P2. Where's the other one? It's nude. Now it's nude. HB. Whatever his name is, it comes across the line. Go P9. Seymour saves P15.
Someone saying Ollie's going to get easy pole. Well, this is going to be his time to do it. He's P7 at the moment. He's going to have to improve by half a second. It's not going to be, but it's up to P5. But it's still a pretty decent time considering what has been done. Real Paudy not going to be setting a time. Stiggy up on his time by 0.02 of a second, so he probably won't get massive improvements. We'll watch on him though, because he'll be one of the next to cross the line. Into the chicane he goes.
I think it's Nicholas Steinman next, actually, so I'll keep on board with him here. Nicholas Steinman comes second, runner up in F11, goes P11. Sticky comes across the line, P15. He will not be happy with that one.
It's not a good start. It's up to P10. That's a pretty decent run. So it's just going to be Fabi Mark Steiner now to come across and set a time. Well, he's doing a 1:48 at the moment, so that's not a time at all. So I'm pretty sure, ladies and gentlemen, that is your grids. That went by quite quickly, didn't it? And I don't think Yossi had to do very much at all. Well, he did, though. It's a 1:16.5. That is an outrageously fast time. I mean, they were setting 1:16.6s, 1:16.7s, I saw in the chat. So to go and set a 1:16.5 under the pressure is a really solid run for him. I'm guessing, I'm going to call him Fusion Gold. That makes most sense here. 0.3 off the pace, and Verstappen here are just missing out by 0.005 of a second on the front row. That'll annoy him. That will frustrate you.
But Yossi again showing what he did last season. He started on pole in Austria last season, and he ended up basically bottling the win. But it is the old timers in F9 of basically a new grid. Yossi and Fusion Gold 1-2 to start out this season.
Giving it a bit of a rundown, Verstappen here in P3 and Georgius P4, Tam P5 and Ollie P6 with RC in P7, Real Porty P8, BR4 in P9 and Tico Tyre in P10, DET in P11 and Nicholas Simon P12, Nord, Suarez, Boeing, Stiggy, Adagashi, Dimorts, Fabio Mark Steiner and Tom rounds out the grid. And it wasn't quite all within a second, but it was very, very close, wasn't it? 1.1 seconds between first and last. So, race up ahead. Question, how many safety cars? Because I don't think it's going to be that many. I know Spain is it's quite easy to get a spin on. Oh, okay, no, there will be safety cars. It's raining. It's raining, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that throws a spanner in the works, doesn't it? Oh, wow. It's raining. Is it Inter's? I think it's Inter's weather, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely Inter's weather. But someone calling Wreckfest interesting. It is interesting. It's very interesting. And well, for the very first race streamed for season 32, a wet weather start. I think that's some way to start off the season, isn't it?
It is, yes. Oh god, at a track that had the first ever safety car start. No formation lap actually, just realised.
No, we go straight in. That is one of the things we implemented about halfway through last season. So let's see who gets the better start. Yossi has managed to get a pretty decent start off the line, but I think Fusion might be able to sneak one up. He's going to have to go to the outside though. It's really great defending. And there's 3 cars off already at the back of the grid. Nevertheless, the Alpine's going to try and sneak it up the inside. Loses out a bit of time there, allowing the Red Bull to go through. And there's an Aston Martin off the track. And yeah, it's an immediate virtual safety car. So all the drivers just squeezing back into place as they're pretty much all side by side going around the turn 3 there. Nevertheless, all drivers still in the race even after that collision you saw at the back there. All the drivers have managed to hold it together, even if it is with damage. Everyone's still racing, and we are already off once again. Can Yossi begin to break a bit of a gap here? I mean, he's got decent amount of space there. I mean, he's not going to come under threat in the next time. And there goes Verstappen era. What's happened there? He's just slid through there and hit the wall, hasn't he? No safety car though. We're just going to continue racing as the Mercedes staying hot on the back of the house of Yossi here. So already a gap beginning to form between the top 2 and RC.
Yeah, so I believe Verstappen here got onto the sausage curve at turn 9. That's what made him lose, unstable the car, made the car unstable. Sorry, but yes, it went to repeat of the start of last season for Yossi, who was basically leading from the wet, losing the car a lot though through that last corner. He was leading in the wet, and it got dry, and then he got reeled in, actually ended up spinning, and got reeled in even more, and so yeah. But a lot of people pitting was got Fabio Markstein, who's out of the Grand Prix. I think it's crashing the pit lane entry actually.
And
so that's not a good start.
Looking back, just a couple of corners behind, and the two Ferraris were going at each other down the back straight there. With Fabio Markstein out of the race, I think he's just going into the pit lane now. No, Nicholas Steinman and Real Porty have been going, were bouting down the main straight, and they're still kind of just leaning offline every now and then. Is it still raining? It is still raining.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not quite as strong as before, but nevertheless, this rain is still coming down.
Yeah, Archer, I'm going to call him Archer for the rest of the season. He's having quite a few moments in P3. He's still sitting pretty in P3, but he's lost quite a lot of time. Especially for turn 3 where he tries to put the power down, but he just ends up losing the car a lot, and he actually ends up taking up turn 3. See, look there, just loses the car on these 5-speed corners. So maybe he's on the wrong setup, or he just struggling to get the power down.
Maybe he wasn't expecting a wet race, but nevertheless, you can see these problems are beginning to form quite a couple of cars behind him, and has allowed for a 2-second break between him and P2. Could possibly mean Yossi and Fusion Gold might be able to run away a little bit here and just kind of bank on the fact that this Aston Martin might be able to hold a couple of people behind. Nevertheless though, Ferrari's out nice and wide. He's going to go on the Alfa Romeo down into turn 1. Can he get the move done? No, he doesn't, but he's going to look for a little bit of a switchback here. I don't think he's quite going to be able to pull it off. He might be able to look into turn 4 though. If he keeps a tight enough line and a good enough exit, it might be enough. But no, it was not to be. It would look like it could have been pulled off there. Nicholas Steinman, who's gained quite a lot of positions in this race at the moment, P6 now. He's up 6 places, so one of the big winners here, as well as Tom, who's up 6 as well, down in P14. But Nicholas Steinman having an absolute blinder of a start.
I think he benefited off the back of the grid shenanigans, really.
Must have.
So he must have. But you know, he looked quick. You said he could have run up in PSGL F11, so off camera, off stream. So you know, this will be interesting to see how he comes through the field. He looks like he's a very good wet weather driver. I almost commentated cursing there before he actually nearly lost it. But yeah, he looks like he's a decent little wet race driver. So maybe he can just progress his way through. So no DRS, because his wet, obviously. So the drivers will have to navigate by using all the ERS and all the power they have at their disposal. As I think Tam's going to get past Archer here. Both using the ERS deployment. Tam's a little bit less than him, but he's going to go up to about 195 miles an hour to really reel him in. But he doesn't push him in. He forces Archer a bit wide. Archer defends well. On the auto spin curve, that one is there. Don't want to go on stuff too long.
It sounded like he nearly... It's a big rear end. He's completely lost it there, and that's going to open the door for Georgios to sneak one up the inside. Can he pull it off? No, not quite. He might be just hoping for another little mistake. He's going to have to go around the outsider if he's going to want to get this move done. Maybe he's on for the switchback, but he can't quite pull it off. He's still right on his gearbox. You can't really get much closer than that. He's going to possibly, oh god, he's staying very close, and I think at that distance, you know, you're going to get more and more likely to have a problem. You kind of want to get past nice and early, yeah, it's just very leery. And now the Ferrari's going to have a go. Nicholas Steinman does stay behind, even though very close at the end of that straight. Obviously no DRS at the moment, so pure slipstream. As a kerfuffle's happened there. I think BR4's had a bit of a spin because he's lost about sort of 5-6 positions there just a moment ago. And Tom now up 8 positions, up into P12, so he's having an absolutely lovely start. Other than that though, it's beginning to quieten down on track. This fight here for kind of P4-ish at the moment is kind of where it's at. But unfortunately not really many moves to be made. The Ferrari getting close, as well as these front 3 here particularly, closer than the rest, but not quite being close enough to get a move done. It's kind of the problem with wet weather racing, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't really get much done. Paulie's done a moment actually, so he's done a moment like Archer back on the previous lap. The car, it looks very slippery surface here. Obviously, a greasy track, so it will provide not much. There's not a dry line either, so there's not much grip to be had for these intermediates. Maybe they can't even get up to temperature really.
No, and it seems to be that quite a lot of drivers are struggling. You know, we've had a number of spins within the first 5 laps of this race, probably more spins than we have had laps. But I mean, nevertheless, most of the drivers are holding it together. It's just, I think, some drivers have definitely set up, possibly expecting a bit of a drier end to the race. As you did see there, Georgius ran very wide out of the end of that straight there. He's just about managed to hold on to P5. As Nicholas Diamond's desperate to get past at this rate, running right at the back of the Alfa Romeo. I think he's probably going to go for an opportunity here. And the Aston Martin's had a problem. He's gone spinning. So it's going to be pretty much a 4-way tie here. The Haas at the back might be able to get in the way. Are we going to go 3 wide? We might just. The Alfa Romeo holding position nicely. Does get the better brakes of the 3. The Ferrari and the Aston Martin getting pretty much even. Luckily, the Ferrari was on the inside there, so he managed to get the move done. Aston Martin losing 2 places there in just a matter of pretty much a corner. And now under heavy fire from the Haas, which has managed to sneak its way around as well. Though still, Archer somehow managing to hold on at the inside. Is he going to be able to? He's going to have to go around the outside here if he wants to hold the position. He had slightly better brakes at the start, but I think it's going to be the Haas that's going to get the better exit here. No, it's going to be pretty much even. But I think, yeah, the Haas eventually getting past there. That's the benefit of the inside line. He's just about managed to sneak it past. So the Aston Martin, Archer, having a terrible lap 6.
Yeah, I think he lost. I don't actually know what happened there, to be honest. But you know, he thought, wow, he tried to find that position. But yeah, I don't think he's really. He looks like he has a pace, to be fair, but it just looks like he's struggling in the wet weather conditions. But at the end of the day, this is what racing's about. You've got to be prepared for all kinds of conditions: full wets, dry, inters, whatever necessary. I feel like he needs something. Maybe he needs to put a bit more front wing on, you know, just to get some more front downforce, or maybe. Oh, yeah, that's probably what happened to him. I think he just loses it in the high-speed corners.
And there he goes. That, I think that was kind of expected. If he did that in the wrong place, that was what was happening. And is it a full safety car or a virtual? I think, yeah, it is. Annoyingly, where the safety car pops out, everybody is. So it's difficult to tell, but no, it is a virtual safety car. So no one will condense, but everybody will stay at the exact same pace as everybody else. And this gives us a quick moment to talk about Yossi, who's pulled 6 seconds to the driver behind. So clearly showing he knows what to do in the wet.
Yeah, Yossi
very good pace.
He did this last season as well in F9. Well, I say in F9. He did this last season in Austria, but he struggled towards the end of the Grand Prix when he was getting reeled in. But yeah, I think he's very good in the wet conditions. But once it starts to dry out a little bit, he does tend to struggle. So I think he actually puts a wet setup on every race when it's wet. So yeah. But anyway, the virtual safety car should be ending pretty soon. So let's see what will transpire from here. And
there he goes, and Sticky gets a drive through. Oh, that's always a frustrating one to get, because I bet you he was expecting it to go green and it didn't quite go green fast enough, and he's gotten a penalty for it. It is frustrating, but that's what happens when you try and go for that little advantage. Sometimes it does backfire. Speaking of here, Nicholas Steinman is under a lot of pressure from Ollie in the Haas behind. I think he is going to go for a move down the inside. Yes, he does. He goes side by side in, and Nicholas Steinman better on the brakes. As of right now, switchback possible, but not quite pulled off there by Ollie. He remains behind at the moment, but the question is he going to stay behind for particularly long? He's looking very, very good pace at the moment, this Haas. Clearly the tyres they're worn in just enough to show significant speed. and he's pretty much riding the back end of that Ferrari as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, again, as I said earlier in qualifying, the track isn't very good for kind of overtaking. It's come under criticism, a lot of criticism. Ooh, the Alfa Romeo went a bit wide there. It's going to allow Nicholas Simon to go on the back of him. I don't think he'll go for the overtaking opportunity here to turn 10. Just wait it out, really.
Not quite close enough there at the end of the straight. However, keeping very, very close through this final sector, which could mean a possible, perhaps even three-way fight here into turn 1. I think we can be possibly seeing, two drivers. They're sort of 6 tenths apart at the moment, these three drivers. Let's see how they can do down the start-finish straight. As our first drivers into the pits, it's Tisho. So
yeah,
what is he? I guess does he have damage, or is he just fitting a new set of inters? Because it is still raining, so inters are still the way to go. The softs are still very much not viable whatsoever, or any sort of slick tyre at all. So I guess he must be just going to set in a new inters. I guess it's an interesting choice.
Are the tyres wearing out quicker than people would expect? Maybe I don't know. That's an interesting decision on that.
No, I'm false. I'm incorrect here. He's still on the exact same tyres he started, so he must have had a drive-through.
Yeah, he had the drive-through, didn't he? He had the drive-through. I completely forgot about that. He had the drive-through Stiggy, didn't he?
Yeah, I remember Stiggy having one, but I didn't realise T-Shirt had one as well. Still, Ollie right on the back of Nicholas Diamond. It's a matter of not if, but when. There you go, that's the saying I was trying to find. These three drivers are so close through, especially that final corner in sector 3. They are pretty much on top of each other. And I think that might have been a bit of a mistake there from the Alfa Romeo, because Nicholas Steinman is passed on the back straight, and the Haas isn't going to have enough momentum to be able to make a move here. But he is going to close up nicely to the Alfa Romeo. Nicholas Steinman, there you go. He's now got a bit of a buffer in the form of Georgius. He can hold P4 as of now. It's just a matter of how quickly can the Haas Rolly get past Georgius, if at all. Who knows? I mean, Nicholas Steinman has gone and set the fastest sector 1 time. So, I don't know. I think this man might be on a bit of a hunt.
He definitely is, isn't he?
He's seen this opportunity happen, and he's sort of thought to himself, if I can pull away now, I think I've got a good chance of it being quite a few laps before I have to worry about Ollie again. If not, if I can get past somebody else before that time, that's even better. Problem is, though, is Ollie is going to go for a move here, and he's going to go down the inside of the Alfa Romeo. Little bit of contact made there, I think, and a little bit of a squirm for the Haas, just exiting the corner, and it's not quite to be there. I'm going to have to wait for another opportunity. What did you say?
I don't know if that's the line that Nicholas Simon takes for that corner, but it's a really wide line. He did gain time for it, but I thought he actually ran wide.
Also, maybe interesting alternate 9 there for Nicholas Simon. Maybe just implementing those wet weather rules, carry more speed through the corners if possible, even if it does take you slightly more track to do so. Nevertheless, he's pulled a decent bit of time, hasn't he? 1.2 seconds. Feeling a little bit more confident now, I can imagine. And, I mean, Ollie is still, once again, Ollie's very, very good, clearly, at trailing cars, because he's sticking right on the back, and he might be able to capitalise on this Alfa Romeo mistake here as he's caught up. But I don't think he's quite going to be able to. He's not close enough again to make a move. He looked as if he wanted to try and go up the inside then, but hasn't quite been able to do it. But I mean, oh come on, he's so close on the back end. He's a quarter of a second behind, if that at time. 0.185 then at one point. He is totally relentless on the back of this Alfa Romeo, giving him no room to breathe whatsoever.
I will say this though, Carter, the quality of racing in this Grand Prix has been actually very good.
It has, it's been very high.
it's not been a race of high attrition just yet, but you know, these guys, most of them are quite experienced. You know, some are rookies, I believe. I'm not too sure. Oh, but you know, they're catching the car. They're racing quite well, cleanly. They're giving each other respect on the track. That's what you want to see in the top Sundays here on PlayStation.
I mean, yeah, we run assists, but to be honest, most of these drivers won't be running that strong of assists, especially for F9. You know, we'll be running. You know, some of them might just be corners only racing line, and it will be medium traction control at most, especially if it's a bit of wet weather. You can understand why a couple of drivers will be running traction control. But I mean, for a lot of these drivers, they're kind of finishing their time on assists, and then quite a few of them will then go into the next few seasons possibly being no assists at all. So this is a really good point in the world of assists. Even though we do have assists, the quality of racing is still absolutely sublime.
Yeah, he is. The racing is really good, to be fair. Like, last season was good for racing, but this season so far so well. On a different note though, Tam has closed in on Fusion Gold very quietly and very secretly, to be fair.
And as well, Yossi hasn't been pulling away quite as much as earlier, although as I say that, he goes and sets fastest lap, of course. But I mean, it's 7 seconds. It was 6 seconds about 7 laps ago, so he's not pulling away quite as much anymore. Nevertheless, a bit of unfortunate strategy and a change in weather could be a problem for Yossi. He might want to step on the power a little bit more. I say that he did go and set the fastest lap last race, but in hindsight, or laps before that, would kind of tell you, you know, maybe up the pace a little bit. He might be preserving tyres. You never know. But nevertheless, 7.5 seconds in 13 laps is still pretty good going. It's half a second a lap, pretty much.
Yeah, he's going well, but you know, he did this last time, and I've just thought he spun then. I got to go, oh my god! But no, he's had a mistake though. He's had a massive mistake. He's lost second somewhere.
Oh god, yeah, Jesus. What on earth happened there? Got no idea. Either way, just what I mentioned, Adagashi was the man causing the yellow flag down in Sector 1. He was just spun around after Turn 1. Nothing major. But nevertheless, little correction there having to be made by Yossi. So even so, Yossi's still struggling a little bit out of the final corner. Shows that still this track is not drying anytime soon, is it? The rain's still coming down. Still not all that heavy, but it's just enough to wipe away the rubber that the drivers are laying down, which means no dry line is forming at all. The track is still, it's pretty much just as slippy as a full wet race, just without the, I've forgotten the words.
Puddles.
Yeah, without the puddles. So
closed in.
He hasn't just closed in. He's now pretty much right on the back of the Mercedes. Fusion Gold possibly having problems with his tyres. I guess they might be wearing. It's lap 14 now, so I guess it is nearly time that the tyres are kind of due to begin to wear. I mean, I think most of the cars, their tyres will probably be 30-35% by now. You'll probably start seeing sort of significant decreases within the next couple of laps. A couple of drivers might start pitting soon as well, so you might see a little bit of strategy. Only problem is though, is a lot of drivers won't want to pit because they'll be hoping for the rain to clear and then be able to fit slicks. Only problem is these tyres might die sooner than that because the sky is still, it's not dark, but at the same time there's still no blue in it, so don't expect any dry weather soon. We've really got
Yeah. I think we're in for a full wet race, I can't lie.
It might just
But,
be,
yeah.
we're nearly halfway through the race now, and it is absolutely flown by. We've done 45 minutes already in total. And I think it's gone pretty well so far, There's been minimal incidents, 3 drivers out, primarily due to just the wet weather. Very little contact. It's just a shame there's not... The drivers have kind of spaced out a little bit, haven't they? It's still, the midfield is still within a couple of seconds of each other, but it's still just far enough that kind of can't really make moves. And then to add to the fact that it's Spain, just means that it's difficult for drivers to give some entertainment at the moment.
Yeah, it is very difficult to really just get close to the driver as well. I think around this track they say you'll be like a second quicker. In real life it is. You'll be like about 1.5, 1.6 seconds quicker per lap to get the overtake completed. So it just shows you how hard it is to really perform to really get the overtake done. Because we've seen it today, especially in a wet race. You've got no DRS to assist you down this back straight. So it's going to be tougher than ever, really. And this track doesn't provide many good opportunities.
So, just notably, pretty much our closest fight at the moment, other than Tam, is Ollie just trying to catch himself back up to Georgius. Seeing him struggling in a couple of corners whilst doing so. You might have seen just a very, very quick opposite lock from him through turn 3. So, is that a sign that tyres are properly beginning to wear now? That could be a reason for why we aren't quite as close anymore. Drivers are taking a little bit cautiously, whereas other drivers are a bit more confident on these worn intermediates. Drivers are used to wet weather racing, and quite a lot of them are. Obviously there's going to be some better than others, but what drivers are really not used to, one of the most unusual circumstances, is worn wet tyres on a wet track. So some of these drivers, it won't be brand new to them, but it's something that you're not having to face all the time. So some drivers might be a little bit more cautious at the moment. That can be causing a couple more mistakes, or just generally a bit slower times.
Yeah, it looks like the tyres are starting to, slow down with the...
Speaking of, Zartsom has just come into the pit lane. Is he going for a fresh set? He is indeed. It's a fresh set of intermediates. So no changes for him. The man with the lovely United States helmet. I've just noticed that's a really nice helmet. So our first tyre change, I think, of the race has, or of which significance, really. Oh, Adigashi came in a couple of laps ago. He's on 2-lap-old inters. But, I mean, other than that, it's pretty quiet, other than people have had to come in for damage. Could this mean that he's possibly gone for an undercut, and we're going to just see a wave of cars come in this lap? Because I think it's maybe not. I think it's likely, as notably lap cars are getting a little bit close. There is still a solid sort of 7-8 seconds, but we're getting close to lapping times, although the front drivers do need to come into the pits, whereas the back markers have already done that.
It was the only real battle that's on the track, isn't it? The battle for P2. I mean, we've got the Ferrari closing in on him as well, so this could be a 5-way battle for P2.
It could be, yeah.
Something's happened to Mitsubishi. Cowley's just come into the pit actually, so he is there into P7.
It's interesting, these two drivers have kept pretty much the sort of between 7 and 6/10 of a second for about 5 laps now. It's impressive, to say the least, the consistency. But at the same time, come on, let's have a fight. I mean, I think that we deserve a scrap, because why wouldn't we? Give the viewers what they want, because at the moment, it's, you know, you look at the delta times at the moment, I've got interval times. Most cars 2-3 seconds apart, some within the second, but it's 8 tenths, 9 tenths, 8 tenths, 9 tenths. It's quiet. Speaking of, Tam into the pit lane he goes, along with Nicholas Steinman. So pit strategy is now open. Two front runners have decided to come into the pits, and they're going to be the only two, so they're probably running the proper undercut, as well as BR4 comes into the pit, so they're running an undercut. Drivers ahead, some will probably just run the standard strategy. I think Yossi will probably run the standard strategy as well. He hasn't got really any problems, so there's no need for him to have to run undercuts, overcuts. I think for him, a comfortable standard strategy is kind of the way to go. Fusion, I think Fusion might go for an overcut here, because he could pull it off, but he's going to have to hammer these next couple of laps if he wants to. Other than that, Ollie still close on the back, and oh, how would you pronounce that? P7. I'm not even going to try.
HV
nude Naud. Yeah, who knows. Either way, the only problem with that is it's gotten rid of our closest battle.
Yeah. Oh, and Yossi pits.
So let's see who follows him, if anybody. I think some drivers are definitely struggling with wear more than others. Some have obviously conserved their tyres a little bit more than everybody else. I think Nicholas Steinman's been pushing for quite a while, and so has Tam. They've both been trying to catch up to drivers. Makes sense as for those to have to come into the pits a little bit earlier. I guess it will kind of benefit them if the rain clears, but if the rain doesn't, then it's just, you know, you're just going to have slightly more worn tyres at the end of the race. But I mean, other than that, it's pretty standard racing at the moment, isn't it? Ollie, right on the back of Georgius. So this battle is something to watch. It's currently the fight for P2, but it's not net P2 because obviously pit stops have started. But this fight's back. Let's see how it continues. I'm getting very strong deja vu here.
Oh yeah, you know, Ollie's such a. I think the Alfa Males had an issue because Ollie can go down the inside of the turn 10. This could be disastrous. But again, you give each other respect, room and respect on a track around the outside into turn 11, maybe turn 12. I don't know actually what's classed as, and it will stay that way.
Big Donny Tim in the chat is saying Ollie's boxing. I'm guessing he's probably in a PS party with him, but he's wrong, because Ollie has stayed out to continue fighting Georgius, which I think is understandable. He's clearly got an edge on him. You may as well get in front of him before you make that pit stop, and then just, you know, seal the deal. When you come back out again, he should then have free air. He might be able to pull away a couple of tenths before then coming into the pits. It just kind of secures it a little bit more for him, as Nicholas Steinman goes ahead and sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:26.4. So those fresh tyres clearly doing some good, considering other times running 1:27s and 1:28s. So other than Yossi on a 1:26.7, I think other than that, and Boeing, everybody else is running behind. So clearly the tyres are working well.
Yeah, the tyres 20 laps old, so maybe are they trying to hold out something? Maybe I
don't know. They must be expecting it to dry out for 20 lap olds, but it just doesn't look like that's going to happen, does it? The sky is still, it's white and it's grey, but it is still raining. You know, usually it rains and then it stops raining, and then you've still got another 2-3 laps before you even consider slicks. And Ollie once again staying out. So does Georgius. Obviously, Yossi doesn't need to worry about that, but quite out on track. Tam right on the back of D Morts, the McLaren driver here. Currently a fight for P7, of which Tam has got fresh tyres. Tim very not happy with Ollie. What is he doing? Who knows? Who knows?
I think, to be honest, he's just trying to stretch out the tyres, isn't he? Like,
I think, yeah, that has to be the logical solution to it, doesn't it? Just make them last. It'll be 22 lap olds if they pit this lap. It's the tyres are just trying to go as long as possible before having to change.
In a wet race, you can go a whole race without pitting, and there's 11 laps left, so maybe.
It would
go the whole race.
Yeah, I mean it'd be difficult on inters, wouldn't it? On full wets, it's a bit more plausible. I mean it's still difficult, and you still got to manage your tyres. But on full wets, it is theoretically possible. On intermediates, I think they just wear a little bit too quickly. Either way,
yeah.
Red Bull just had a quick look down the inside there, decided not to go for it. Though I think he's going to try and have it round the outside here, up the hill. Doesn't quite pull it off, but I think he's going to go for the little switchback. Into the chicane we go. Down the inside, he's going the inside line here, but he's got the outside line for the second half of the chicane, but inside for the third and for the final corner. Lots of contact there on the exit, which then closes up Nicholas Steinman, who's now right on the back of the McLaren and gets a brilliant exit. Is going slightly faster than the McLaren, but probably not quite enough. He's going to have to stick a bit of a dive bomb here if he wants to get the move done. Is he going to do it? He is going to go for it. Nicholas Steinman moves up into P7, so that means D Mort's down to P8 from P6, and Nicholas Steinman will probably be now looking on to Tam, as they are the closest they've ever been. Just half a second between Steinman and Tam, who are a technical net P2 and 3. So pretty good running there. I saw Nicholas Steinman having to keep it very, very close. I think that might have been just to prevent a bit of a slip there. But no, very good instinctives from Nicholas Steinman, and I think that's our first bit of proper contact between Tam and D Morts for this race.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone go side by side through a chicane like that before, ever.
No.
So that was very interesting. And something happened to Fashion God, by the way, because he's dropped off massively.
Who?
Fashion God, Fusion God, sorry.
Oh yeah, he has. He's caught. Ollie's caught up to him. Even more so, I think he's going to have him here down this main straight. He's going to slick to the inside. Here goes the Haas. Yossi setting the fastest lap time, just momentarily behind. Down the inside, the Haas goes. Move made. First turn. No fighting, no scrapping after that. Move done, one corner. Lovely stuff. Ollie into P1, 23 lap old intermediates as of right now.
Are they going to try and take Yossi in the Le Grand Prix? Surely it's too late for a pit stop now.
It's getting late, isn't it? It's 9 laps to go. The only thing is Yossi has pretty much made that pit stop back already. Yossi's on the back of them now on 19 lap younger tyres.
But also it's hard to overtake around here, so maybe Yossi will struggle.
Mm.
In the dirty, obviously in dirty isn't not prominent anymore, but he might still struggle.
Yeah. But considering what, it's about 22 seconds you lose for a pit stop, considering the fact that you already had a 6-second buffer, he's probably caught up about, I don't know, about 15 or so seconds within the last 4 laps. So it's a big improvement for Yossi, to say the very least, and now right on the back of Alfa Romeo of Georgius. I think a couple of decent exits out of this final corner and a couple of dive bombs into turn 1, and it's plausible. It is plausible. Tam and Steinman are just that bit further back, and I mean, if these guys decide to, yeah, let's say, speaking of Yossi doing exactly what I've just said and getting the move done at turn 1, identical to Ollie's move on Fusion there. Yeah, Tam and Nicholas Steinman, I think if these boys do go to the end, I they might just make it, but it's going to be difficult for them. It's going to be a lot harder for them than it is for Yossi to get a podium position here.
Yeah, he's in P3 now.
Yeah, he's already on the podium.
If Ollie manages to get this gap, if Fusion can hold off Yossi for a little bit, Ollie gets the gap, this could be a very dramatic end to the Grand Prix, let's say both all here.
I don't think, though, Fusion Gold's going to be able to hold on for very long. Yossi's passed, and that is just immense tyre grip in comparison, isn't it?
Do we see team orders straight away?
I don't know.
Do we?
Oh, it's a great question, because Ollie knows he is going to have such a hard time keeping Yossi behind. Yossi's thinking that this is plain sailing right now. Is Ollie going to... Yeah, it's a great question. Are they currently in communication? Boeing there just leaving, so cars have been lapped now. Boeing have an absolutely horrible start to his season. I think that must be his third or fourth pit stop of the... Not going well for him. 3 stops, yeah, unfortunate for him. But yeah, are Ollie and Yossi in a group chat possibly? Are they currently talking to each other? Who knows? Are they just going to have this kind of mutual understanding, or are they going to be just let them race?
This is the issue, because obviously Yossi just pulled a second on it with like a quarter of a lap. So
yeah, I think if Ollie manages to keep him behind until lap 30, that's really impressive. If he can continue after that, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a way, because look at him right now. Yossi, he's just gone and set the fastest Sector 2 time, and unless Ollie has fully RS, he's not keeping Yossi behind here, is he?
I think he's got the podium.
I do, yeah. I would agree. I'd agree that Ollie's probably might take P2 here. I think he'll take P2. But a Haas 1-2, very viable. But I think it's just going to be in the other way round than it is right now. I mean, I think Yossi just taking it a bit easy there. See, that's the thing as well. Yossi isn't going to go for a mental move that he would go on for someone else, because if he wipes himself out with another driver, okay, that's championship points lost, but that's only championship points lost for one car. If he wipes out the other driver here, think Mercedes 2016, both cars are out, you're losing massive championship points, not only for both the cars, but for constructors.
Yeah.
So he's just going to be that bit more cautious, isn't he?
This is gonna...
I mean, he's doing a good job at the moment. I've got to say, he's keeping him at bay.
He doesn't look like he's struggling just yet.
No. Nevertheless, we've still got just over, like a corner over, 6 laps of racing to go. How long can he hold on? Also, can I note, amazing lack of penalties.
Yeah, Spain's not a track where you can get penalties, really, is there?
But I mean, nevertheless, it's at a level where, you know, we've got at the moment one driver with a penalty, and it's a little 3-second time penalty. It's not the end of the world. It's very impressive, isn't it? You know, it's still possible to pick up a penalty, but I mean, no driver has done so. Oh, that was a little mistake there. That could open the doors, and it's not quite enough.
Yeah, they're going to end the race, aren't they? They're going to end the race, which is that's viable. I mean, depends how the tyres hold up. Will we see late race punctures to bring in other people? Let's see.
God, yeah, that is something else to mention as well, isn't it? How old are these tyres now? 28 laps. They're going to be, you know, if they're like, I can see them quite easily being sort of 60% wear. at the end of this race. It's puncture area, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think this is without a doubt the closest it's been the whole time. Unless Ollie can have a decent... Oh, he's got a solid exit there. I mean, it's not massive, but I think it might just be enough. It's going to be close because Yossi's right on the back as it stands, and it is just about enough to hold on for that straight, but it's getting ever increasingly closer, isn't it? As Boeing is keeping up nicely with these front runners on those nice fresh tyres. And also noted, Nicholas Steinman has gotten past Tam, though that might be a battle that still continues on. Maybe not. Tam not quite sneaking past. Yeah?
If Nicholas Steinman can pull in midweek here, he could be in for the podium shout. I'm not saying he will be, but he's got 5 laps.
I mean, he's got a lot of time to catch. You know, he's 4 seconds off of P5 here, but it's still viable for a really solid point scoring position. I think this could be a moment here. He's going to have to go defensive. Ollie down the back straight as Boeing just running around the outside, slipping and sliding. Yossi does sneak it up the inside there for the moment. He's going to have to go round the outside here. Now going into the chicane, it's going to be Ollie to have the inside line for the first part, and he does get the... So, that was off. That was the first attempt. That's the first attempt we've had of the Hash trying to get past, and it is now the closest it's been the entire time. It's just a tenth between them. Team orders is clearly not a case because these two are fighting like hell, and I think just purely based on the tyre grip ability, Yossi should have the better brakes, and he does. Yossi gets past on lap 30 of 33. Does it hold for particularly long, and a little bit of a slip there for Ollie pretty much deduces any chance of him getting past here at turn 4. So Yossi up into the lead with a bit of a little bit of oversteer heading out of that corner, but still pulling away. He's already a second ahead. I think it's unfortunate that it's happened, but at the same time it's inevitable. Also noted, Nicholas Steinman has dropped that 4.5 seconds to a second, to 9/10 now.
I think that's because Georgios made a mistake, actually. That's not because of the pace.
I mean, it has to be, surely, right? Though, in all honesty, the close between Georgios and DT are close, you know. Nicholas Steinman's now right on the back of Georgios. I think these tyres have gone horribly wrong, and I think Nicholas Steinman now is going to have the inside line into the chain. Doesn't quite pull it off, but Nicholas Steinman does look like he's going to get past the Alfa Romeo here next lap. I think it is possible for Nicholas Steinman to snatch P4 here if he really pushes, but he's going to have to get past Georgios down here into turn 1. I think he can pull it off, you know. He is in heads. He's ahead. He's done it before he even hits the brakes. He's got some catching to do. He's got 2 seconds to catch within the next 3 laps of running. Bit is viable, isn't it? I think Nicholas Steinman is at the moment on for P4. Is he on for the podium though?
Ooh, 2.6 seconds maybe. He's got fastest sector 1, you know.
He has just gone fastest.
4 seconds already, by the way, Yossi.
Yeah, I think that was kind of inevitable, wasn't it? That when he was going to get past, he was just going to run away with it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, at the moment, other than Yossi, the 3 drivers in between him and Steinman are all on 30-lap old inters. They're all on the most worn inters you know everybody's running. So obviously he's got a massive pace advantage and a massive grip advantage. Clearly these intermediates are now struggling more than ever. It's going to be very, very close if he's going to want to try and get a podium here. I think he's just going to have to slightly up the pace if he wants. He's definitely, I'm fairly confident he's going to have P4. So I mean, he's now 3/10 off of the back of DT. Podium's still a push though, because he hasn't managed to get past here into turn 1. So he's going to have to do it someplace else. Aligashi having to come into the pits. Again, that is stop number 3 for him as well. So another poor race for him. One to remember. No, definitely not to remember. One to forget.
Also, talking about fusion goals. He's been closing by Mitri as well, actually. So he must be making loads of mistakes as well. Tam, potentially.
It's maybe because Nicholas Steinman's just managed to get past DET, having an absolutely marvellous run here. He's he's gone past one. He's got past the Mercedes, and he's done the ass. But big collision,
he's out.
And Ollie is out because of that. And Nicholas Steinman missing his front right end plate, and off goes the Mercedes. It's chaos in the last couple of laps. All the boys that were running so well, and Ollie just losing it. I think he was having a big old slip there, and Nicholas Steinman's just collided with him, and off he goes. So it's unfortunate for Ollie, who's run so well, and into the penultimate lap, it's just all gone a little bit wrong. Nicholas Steinman though takes P2 after being P6 not 3 laps ago.
Yeah, I think at the moment anyway.
And I think Tam here might be able to get on the podium. He's running with the AlphaTauri side by side. He slips up the inside at turn 2. So yes, Tam moves up into P2. And who knows, with Nicholas's broken front wing, he might just be able to catch up. He might have a little fight for P2 right at the very end of this race here. As Fusion Gold retires from the session as well. So what's happened to him? I think he's retired. Is he retired in the pit lane? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know why.
Yeah, because you'd just go to the end, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Heartbreaking for sets of people.
Oh, we had a puncture.
Oh, that's why he went wide.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be very difficult for Tam, but I think we're going to have to just ignore that for a moment and say that, well, it has been a pretty sublime race, hasn't it, for Yossi? He's pretty much led every single lap, done everything he needs to do. Yossi wins in Spain for our round 1. And Nicholas Steinman is going to hold on, and he comes home for P2 in his brand new league. So absolutely great start for him, showing that he has got the pace to race in 2 leagues above. Tam in P3 and DET coming in P4, as well as Georgius in P5, Demort in P6 and Nord in P7. So that shows that the going full on, it can't quite win you a race, but it gives you a very good position, doesn't it? P4 to P7, all running the entire way round. And Ollie would have been the same, but unfortunately his shenanigans caused him to unfortunately have a bit of a collision and DNF. But nevertheless, what a race. Like, really good quality.
Yeah, it was great quality, to be honest. Lots of incidents, sorry. Lots of good clean racing. We just had one incident towards the end that might be getting put into the stewards, which would be quite easy to account. I believe it's a racing incident. Ollie had a few moments, so worn tyres, struggling for power. So yeah, but I believe it was a very good Grand Prix, you know.
Other than that, looking at really big position gains that we've had, Nicholas Steinman obviously getting driver of the day. He started P12, so he's had an absolutely wonder of a race coming in P2. DET in P4, he started P11. Demort started P18 and he's come P6, as well as Tom gained 9 positions, being down in P11, and Nord with P13 to P7. So some big improvements for a lot of drivers there, really being able to capitalise on the wet weather race. But I think you kind of, driver of the day has either got to go to Yossi or Nicholas Steinman, because both really showed off how they can drive in wet weather conditions really well. Would you agree?
Yeah, so today Yossi was just outright driver brilliant. He just consistently knew conditions, how to race them, and you know he didn't really face many challenges, minus the fact that his couple of laps at Ollie was put up a good fight, but he didn't really need to push as hard as he had to. He gained out. We got an advantage at the start of the race, and he never really lost it.
Oh wow! And just looking at Steen and Tisho, who both picked up drive-through penalties. Delta time for the VSC, Stiggy was red by 0.04 seconds, which picked him up that drive-through. And even worse, Tisho was a 0.016 in the red to get that drive-through penalty, which shows it's so close. And they're so close to that limiter, and it's kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, running that risk of being that close kind of does cost you, and it costs you a lot more than running a tenth under.
Yeah, it's so punishing, and you can just see what happened there, and it doesn't forgive you. It's a drive-through penalty. So yeah, it's the most punishing penalty they can give you.
And shall we? Do you fancy doing some interviews? If anybody is down, if the top three are willing, should we see? Because sometimes I've said this and then no one shows.
Yossi doesn't really speak English.
Okay.
I can't remember the other two.
So, shall we leave it be for this week, and
Yes.
We'll see how it goes for next week. But nevertheless, thank you all very much for watching. It has been an absolute wonder to do F9. Great start, lovely reception, and we will see you all. We don't have a week. We don't have a race next week, do we?
We don't.
We don't. Oh, that's a shame. But we will be back the week after for Bahrain, which is also. It's a great little track, and you can be rest assured, I can guarantee you Bahrain will be dry. So
Sure.
we shouldn't have that problem of wet weather racing, and yeah, it will be dry. And if it isn't, then the world's going to end. Either way, thank you all very much for watching. I've been the Carstatistics. He's been Jack Tyler. And good night.